or I put in scrap metal, and it gave me exactly the guy's name and phone number, and it was so helpful.
I wish in Champaign was body engineering, and I would do that, but that's becoming nasty.
Yeah, I'm a member of that.
What is Champaign Urbana Uncensored?
I spotted in Champaign. No, I don't want to be uncensored, like it's too depressing. People are just fierce.
It's too raunchy too.
Yeah. And that I'm like.
Thank you for the apple donuts.
You're welcome.
Sounds
It was fun to go out there and
Thank you.
see what Joe's missing. He told me he was gonna be gone, so you're missing the dog.
Yeah.
Oh, look, you don't even have a corner. I guess you're at the very corner of my desk today. I meant to ask Michael to put something on the back of my chair or another real here.
Yeah.
We're live, by the way.
Oh, and then Tiffany, yeah, they said, do not show that as outstanding, that IMRF, and
Yeah.
is what she said. Yeah.
Should we do the PO box in both places? That's
For pictures, I come in, I straighten them all the time, and they're still crooked.
First one.
I think when we shut the door,
Say fine.
yeah. Yeah.
What's the cabinet from?
Well,
It's old, but it's-
Yeah, that used to be in BJ's office.
It was from the
So,
original
Yeah.
village office, like hundreds, 100 years ago.
yeah, we polished it all up because it was really bad looking, and it, yeah, makes it look a lot better.
Everything, it's just a piece of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we sold the old village building. It was across the street.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. But that's
And
when
that was as late as this afternoon.
What was Greg involved in?
Greg Knott,
Yeah, Mason,
he is a mason.
Mason, do they still meet?
Yeah, they are further downtown. They're above Gashink.
Oh,
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Billy Bogus. Valley. Present. Hayner. Cummings. Yes. Rapp.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna start the meeting off tonight with two appointments for our trustees positions that are vacated. So I'm gonna turn it over to Tiffany. Tiffany has, well, actually, do we
You need
vote
to
on it
make,
first?
yes, you need
So,
to make
okay.
your recommendation and
Ah.
then someone needs to make a.
I will do them one at a time. Is that better for you, or do them both together?
I think you can do them both.
We both do, okay, so, yeah, we'll get this done in proper fashion, so. I am going to appoint, or I would like to appoint, and with you guys' approval, Angela Page and Matt Wolfensberger. Did I screw that up terribly?
Well, Thursday.
Wolfersberger, okay. I've even practicing it numerous times so that I get it right. So anyway, so I would like to make that appointment of both of those positions. So is there a motion?
So move.
Need a second, please? Second. Tammy, I'll need you to vote on this one.
All right.
Valley? Yes. Cummings?
Yes.
Rapp?
Yes.
Billy Bogus?
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
Tiffany has the.
Have to swear at you.
Monica, see, you can vote at the same time too. And then you guys can come up and take your seat. We'll do this first.
Oh, you can stand up first if you'd like. Put up your right hand. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear
You can say it at the same time. That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Illinois,
and state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the village trustee
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the village of trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
There's not really good place to stop, so very good. Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Welcome. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you both for accepting the challenge of serving our community. So, I know you guys are a great job. Looking forward to having you on board. So. Anyway, the second bit of business that I have, and it's my understanding people have been asking already a month ago, when is trick or treating going to be? So we officially have our proclamation designating the official date and hours for Observation Halloween in St. Joe. Whereas the Village of St. Joe is recommending that Tuesday, October 31st, 2023 be designated as the official date for Observation Halloween. And whereas the Village of St. Joe recognizes desirability of designating a common date for said observance to best promote the safety of children and convenience to householders. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the village mayor of the Village of St. Joseph as follows. Tuesday, October 31st, 2023 shall be officially designated as Halloween in the Village of St. Joe, and the hours for Halloween treating shall be from 6 to 8 p.m. The parents are encouraged to accompany children as they make their treating rounds in familiar neighborhoods, and that special attention be given to traffic safety rules by motorists and children alike. So now we have our trick or treating hours and dates set. So hopefully the weather will be warm and nice, and everybody will be safe out there to enjoy the trick or treating. So I will actually, I'm going to move the agenda around just a little bit so Jane can get in and out of here. And I don't. Actually, you know what, Debbie, I'm gonna get you out of here. So, is there any public comment first? I don't see any. Nora.
I'm super excited
You say-
to set Halloween hours. Like,
Okay.
I'm really excited.
Alright. And so actually I'm gonna do, we have our consent agenda here, which includes the 2 sets of minutes. There was a correction made to the August 22nd minutes. So all of those were in your packet, along with the September 26th on through the treasurer's report, investment recommendations, and approval of bills. If there's no
I just
question.
have a quick question.
Yes.
So all of the minutes that are in my packet say August 22nd. Are they all for August 22nd, Tammy?
No, there should be September 26th in that.
Okay.
There is, but it
So
says.
that, I'm just saying, that's what all of mine.
They both say August. We just give it a change.
Look and see.
Actually, second set.
The second set is actually September 26th. I didn't
Okay.
change the date of it, don't I?
Okay, just making sure that I was in my,
No, I apologize.
I have one question. I thought we had talked about the Visitors Bureau. Did we approve the bill to be paid this month? Because I noticed it was in here, or were we waiting until after the presentation?
We have it included in the bills. I was
For
thinking
tonight?
we decided to go ahead and approve payment this time, and then we were gonna ask questions for her this evening, so. But I'm not sure, does that how you guys remember that we were gonna go ahead and approve payment, or?
I think that it came up about the question, anything, and then it's included in these bills. So if you got a question for Jane, because if somebody said, where's the money going? And I know it's not that much, but if you have a question, you got a time to ask it.
And actually, none of those are sent out until after we approve
Yeah.
them this evening anyway,
Yeah.
so if you do have questions or whatever, then Jane can answer them.
Yeah.
So, is that all right?
So did you want me to add that? Is that what you're saying, or to the minutes?
Do you want that added to the minutes, Tim? The question about yes, please.
Add that we were going to,
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, that was just, I see what you're saying, yes, no, that was okay, it was just my own question.
Okay, if there's no other questions, is there a motion for approval?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented
with the correction of the date on the
with the
minutes.
correction of the date on the minutes. Thank you.
I'll second.
Page,
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Cummings,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes,
5-0.
Okay, now we're gonna, actually, we're actually right on track, because our next thing on the item is for Jane. Debbie, you can, go home and rest. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
You're
Debbie.
welcome.
thanks for putting your pencil to rest.
You're welcome. Yeah. Have a good night,
Sleep
everyone.
tonight, all night.
Okay.
Yeah. You're not gonna beat me, I'm sorry.
I would love to, but you all talked a little, there, so. Jane DeLuce and CEO of Experience Champaign-Urbana, and I'm here to chat with you just about the work that we're doing on behalf of St. Joe and on behalf of the entire region that we represent. And we'll start with one of my favorite shots there. And I love this view of the Kickapoo Rail Trail and just at the sunset. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and we talked about there's nothing like a sunset in our area. It just goes on forever. Yes, we're flat, but boy, we just have some brilliant sunsets. So that one's always been one of my favorite ones there. So the good news in general, hotel motel tax revenue is up in the Champaign County area. So if you look at, we're breaking all-time records from fiscal year 23 at 5.48 million that was collected in the county, just from where that was from pre-pandemic levels. So we try to put in there the few years. And part of that, as we came back out of the pandemic, and we'll talk a little bit about that in another couple slides, is the success of the Rancho Sports Complex and what that has done for the entire county. Just because outdoor activities were able to come back a lot quicker than the meetings and conferences. And we're still, I don't want to say struggling, but it's still meetings and conferences that are in a different place than they were pre-pandemic in terms of people wanting to get together or people online. And so that's still a big part of what we want to focus on in terms of weekday traffic to generate hotel tax revenues and food and beverage tax during that time. So overall, Champaign County area, I'm excited to say, because we're all competitive, that we achieved the 8th highest spending in Illinois of the counties, and we saw quite an increase. So these numbers come from Tourism Economics, and they send it to the state of Illinois, and they break it down by county. Overall, travel and tourism supported 4,900 jobs in our area, which is an increase of 14.8%. This is 2022 calendar year, just to give everybody that frame of reference. We get them very late. And so although we're halfway, almost 3/4 of the way through 23, these are for 2022 numbers. There is through $608.8 million in visitor spending, which is a 21% increase. And that's also extremely high increase over the years to be able to have that, again, bouncing back from pandemic levels, but also just great to see because of everything that's happening in our entire area. Generating $160.8 million in payroll, a 17% increase there, bringing $17.3 million in local taxes to be invested back to the community, which is a 21.4% increase. So again, great numbers that are happening. This is specific to Champaign County. We also get that numbers for the other counties that we support in our efforts with Moultrie and Douglas and Hyatt and now Ford. But those are not included in these particular numbers here. I just focused on Champaign County for you all tonight. So a lot of the people have been asking us about the name change, and we wanted to just be upfront about that in terms of why we did it. Part of it was done on surveying, and part of this, keeping in mind what you see us do, most of the advertising that we do is for 50 miles and out, because it is funded by a tourism grant by the state of Illinois, and that's a requirement of that grant to spend it 50 miles and out. So the things that we do locally are more about the residents per se, but the actual efforts beyond 50 miles and out is what we get funding for. So we looked at, we did surveys, we did focus groups. Oftentimes what we found when people said they either live, they focus here, in Champaign-Urbana, or in one of the surrounding communities. Even had a person who said, I live in St. Joe, east of Champaign-Urbana, to give them a reference point when you're outside of Illinois or when you're outside of the area. We did advertising testing, and for 1 year leading up to it, the headlines and copy that replaced Champaign County with Champaign-Urbana, and our click-through rates nearly doubled, driving more people to the website. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about people finding us in this area and then being able to find the places that are around the entire county or really around the greater Champaign County area. And I know sometimes when I'm looking at that, maybe that's going to be one of your questions you're going to ask me at the end of this about how this came about, but I wanted to just put that out there because nothing has changed. We continue to promote the entire region, and that's an extremely important part of the stuff we're doing, but we looked at what our optimization was in terms of the marketing campaigns and found that that was the way people searched. And so that's what the reason that we looked at and Terry on our staff shared results here from July to October. Website traffic has increased by 17%, generating 42% more activity on the site, meaning clicks to our blogs, our event calendar, etc. And then a campaign that we did with WGN in Chicago saw double the responses from the 2022 campaign. So we're continuing to measure and to see, because again, as I said just a minute ago, it's optimal to be able to have people find us. And a lot of people don't know if they're here, if they're in Mahomet, if they're in Tolono, if they're in Rantoul, they don't always necessarily even know the geographic region and what they're at. They just know, oh, I'm going to Wheelhouse Restaurant for dinner. I might know it's in St. Joe, I might not. And that's not anything to us as residents. That's more just getting them to the places that we have that are in this region. So we feel really strongly about how we optimize being able to do that. And so that's the efforts that we've talked about in terms of the branding. Obviously, Brilliant is something I think is pretty amazing. I just said about Brilliant Sunsets, and we're using that, and that's generating a lot of traffic because it works well with Brilliant Outdoor Adventures, Brilliant Art to Inspire. It's kind of been neat to see how that has resonated. This will include a new website and the website preview. And I'll send, you have this presentation, so y'all, if y'all want to have that to be able to look at on your own. We're going to feature all of the areas that we work with in this interactive map featured on the homepage. So you can see St. Joe on there with the icons of the Kickapoo Rail Trail that are on part of that. You can see Arthur on there. You can see Mahomet. You can see Champaign. This is a way that people kind of associate with icons more than they necessarily associate with the name of a place. So each city will feature a description and 3 businesses or attraction callouts that will be rotated regularly. So we're excited about that because we think that's going to be a great way to call out different places and not make the website stagnant. There's a lot of tourism people that we've looked at in other places, and you look at their website and they have the same thing on the homepage like forever. And you got to keep it changing and keep featuring different places in the area. This will be launched at the end of this month. Hopefully they're getting a couple bugs worked out through the web developer is Surface 51 is who we've been working with on that. So the other thing that we've really been working with is a company called Zardico to look at visitor data. And yeah, it's tiny. I'm even got my reading glasses on and I'm still struggling to see some of this information. When we do this, this is figured out through cell phone data, through credit card receipts. And this is, yes, when people say, is it Big Brother watching? No, it's not personal. They don't know where exactly to find you, but it does track those. And we've taken a place like a Rantoul Sports Complex that brings in people to the area, or a Memorial Stadium that hopefully will keep bringing people to the area if we ever win a game, but that's another subject. And where they spend their money when they go to this area. And so within St. Joe, the top visitor destinations include Wheelhouse, Salt Fork Paintball, and Mercantile Antiques. And the highest percentage of spending is gas and service stations, and then retail, which has a higher spend per person. I'll be honest, I'm still learning how some of this data works, so I will try to answer questions about it, but I'm in a training with Zardico to learn more about this. But it's fascinating because it can really help us understand when people visit our area, where they're spending their dollars, which helps us then look at some campaigns in terms of marketing wise to help educate either beyond those areas or to maximize where people are going. So that's, I think, it's a really, really cool tool. And and I think there's another slide that we'll pull it up that shows, it kind of almost looks like a starburst, that it shows like where the person was and where they traveled to. You can see that. So it's pretty neat to see.
Wrong way. Here we go.
I know, it's still hard to see when you get that. So programmatically, the return of the IHSA Boys State Basketball, we did have that. This was the second year that we hosted last March. We had an increase from the first year from 34 to 40,000 for the boys basketball. So it had about an economic impact, going back to what we were talking about, Art, before we started here, of about 6 million for that weekend. So it is definitely, you know, people say, well, you can see it continuing to rise each year in terms of attendance. It will just depend on the teams that are in and whether they travel strong. You all know that when people, some teams just don't travel as strong, but other teams travel very strong. So we're super excited about that. This year, so March of 24, we will be the third year of our initial agreement. The plan is they're not going back out to bid. It's going to be a 5-year extension and 5-year extension, which is what after that. So the goal is we keep basketball forever. Similar to wrestling, they haven't put wrestling out to bid in a really, really long time. They just keep extending the bid. That's what we hope that they'll plan to continue to do basketball. So we don't have to go back out to bid for that. And it will be great to have that, because then I think people were kind of like, okay, this is the third year. Are we going to lose it again? No, they're very, very happy with how it's gone over at the State Farm Center, and we're excited to see it continue. I mentioned before a little bit of the Rantoul Family Sports Complex, very important to our entire area. Fills hotels throughout the season. It's not the only sports complex, and I don't mean to indicate that it's not important for other smaller tournaments that are happening, but it's the biggest multi-sports complex that we're seeing, and the number of people that are going there for a variety of sports, including in November. If you ever were a Harry Potter fan and they played Quidditch, we're doing what's now called quad ball, because Quidditch is patented by the J.K. Rowling. And so we have a U.S. qualifier, regional qualifier for U.S. quad ball in November of 23. And I'm just have to go watch that, because I just can't fathom seeing them with the brooms and the whole thing. So, you know, it travels well, and we've also did a site visit with a similar group to look at the nationals for that, and that's a very popular sport, especially with some non-traditional audiences, not your typical soccer players or baseball players, et cetera. We've also had a strong youth football tournaments that have been happening up there, which maybe then they'll be recruited for Illini. So sorry, I'm a big Illini fan, and it's really hard to go to games like Friday night. So anyway, I digress. The other exciting part that's going to happen this year is the full marathon will return. And the course is gonna be changed a little bit, so it's actually gonna go include Savoy. So it'll be Champaign, Urbana, Savoy area, still ending in the stadium. But the great part of what that will do for us is that overall, is that it should take us back to a much higher attendance with it, because when you have a full marathon, then they compete in the half marathon, or even in the 5K, we expect to have a lot more participants back. So the numbers have been good for having the half and relay, et cetera, but bringing the whole back is gonna be where it should be at. So we're super excited about that in April of 24. And I mentioned meetings, again, the Hilton is back having meetings and conferences. They were kind of on a hiatus a little bit with some property management changes there. The iHotel and Conference Center is still our largest meeting conference center space. There was just a conference that happened in conjunction with the university in September, and it brought in over 2,000 attendees from around the world. I think the last count I saw was about 36 countries that came in for that. So pretty exciting to see a strong international population coming to our area. But the most important part about meetings and conferences is creating weekday traffic. Our weekends are good. I mean, we do a lot on the weekends, but we definitely need to have more traffic during the week to sustain our local businesses, so. And restaurant weeks, and Michelle, we're talking about food, and we had anecdotally, we had a conversation today about best cheese curds in the county, and determined that Wheelhouse has the best cheese curds. I don't know if anybody concurs on their cheese curds, but that's what we decided this afternoon. We were talking about, I don't know how we got off on cheese curds. But anyway, had the restaurant week in January at 42 participating restaurants. That was the largest to date. We had 10 new participants. Website visits for that, 68,464 for restaurant week. People like their food. And then 19,300 unique users. So we will continue to do the restaurant week. You'll see, it's at the end of January, last week of January, first week of February, just about the time that people have given up on their New Year's resolutions, but it's a great way to feature our local restaurants. We've also added caterers to it, as well as, I believe, a couple food trucks were also included as well, but a great way to focus on all the local diverse flavors that we have in our whole area. So community resource wise, this is the guide that you have in front of you. We still print 40,000 copies of that. We do editorials. We've continued to try to make it a piece that is more reading versus just listing of places, because people get their listings elsewhere. They get it on their phone, they get it on their tablet, wherever. So important to tell the story of our whole area. You can see there was features on Wheelhouse, Kickapoo Rail Trail, the St. Joe, Santa 5K, and Mission Boutique included in that. You can find the pages in there in the book. To show how many we give out, just in the first quarter, July, August, September, we delivered over 9,000. And a lot of those go to University of Illinois for new faculty staff orientation. In fact, we're doing a new staff orientation at State Farm Center on Thursday. We'll have a booth there as well. But a lot of people utilize those for that. So we talk about, when she was here, we were talking about new residents. It's a great way to be able to share the stories of our community with new residents. We do it for different departments on campus, and then as well as those go to the rest stops on I-57, I-74 for the ones that are still open, and then anybody that requests them. So a really popular one for us that we get requests from is Midwest Living Magazine, and we get reader requests. And I still get surprised at how many people still request print magazines through that. And I just happened to see the listing, and it was like 30 this last time around. And I was like, and they're all over the place, the people that are still reading the magazine in print and then want to print guide with it. So it goes to a lot of different places, and we're very proud to have that. And we offer it for free for anybody, whether it's for conferences, meetings, weddings, reunions, however people want. We have all those materials in our office. Okay, and then social media reach. Overall, our Facebook is at 11,000 followers, Instagram 8,300 followers, TikTok 1,700 followers. I laugh because I'm not very active on TikTok, but I hear about it. And I love, we've reached a lot of the student population, U of I student population with it. And Marcus, who's on our team that does that, has had a lot of fun engaging with them and ways to kind of encourage the students to get off campus a little bit and discover this whole area that they have outside of the university. You can see a couple of examples of when you did Our Town St. Joe and then the Santa 5K. Those are just a couple of examples of when we promoted St. Joe through our social media. We are as good as the information we get. And so we always encourage everybody, if there are special events, to make sure that we have those. We can comb the internet as much as possible with calendars, but it's always helpful when people send them to us, as well as to make sure that we have them on our website to help promote to people. So we also do blog posts, digital ad campaigns to expand our social media reach. And it's just a lot of fun because it keeps changing, so. Okay, one of the things, and I talked about this last year as well, but it's really taken off, is the Welcome Crew is ambassadors for new residents. And we have 50 ambassadors across all backgrounds. We served 100+ new and potential residents. Young, of all the people that are, and these are people that if you are moving to the area, you're following a spouse to the area, or you're thinking about coming to the area, and you want to talk to somebody that may not be your employer or may not be your extended family, whoever, you can find out about these ambassadors and get matched with somebody who can kind of just be that person, a concierge for you, to tell you about the area based on what your interests are. And so these people have applied and they're included online, and it has an opportunity for people to meet somebody else and just say, hey, this is a great community. We're really glad you're here. We're really glad you're thinking about moving here. Oh, you have young children. Have you thought about this for activities? Oh, you're a young professional without kids. Here are some activities of how people network in this area. And it's kind of a personal touch with it. We do new to the area welcome mixers. And that's been a great way then for people the ambassadors show up, and if they're new residents, it's kind of I always say it's like a low key, non necessarily, like the chamber does like the Champaign County Chamber does like a business after hours, but they feel very networky, like through business referrals. And maybe sometimes you just don't necessarily want to refer a business, but you just want to say, hey, tell me about what you do in this area. That's what these mixers are kind of for. Business referrals can happen, but it's not the main focus of this. So it's been, it said young professionals are the top age group, highly interested in arts and culture and outdoor opportunities have been that, because people can tag what their interests are with it. We've also had with this a new community job application, which is very popular as well. And so again, if someone says, I know I'm going to move to the area, my partner's moved to the area, or I just am interested in living there, the community job application is a way for them to find out where jobs are available, and then they're referred to a community job board that's being done. And that's become actually really popular as well too, and has grown. We're continuing to develop the Champaign County African American Heritage Trail, and we're fortunate, since the last time I talked with y'all, we were fortunate to get a sizable grant of $475,000 from DCEO and Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And it has really helped us solidify. We're in the process of installing 23 signs. We're going to look at 5 murals and 16 videos. That will just be the development of the trail itself around the whole area. And then in addition, we'll be developing on our own local education curriculum for the schools, so that young people can understand the importance of the rich history of African American history in our county. So excited about that. The picture in the middle is Preston Jackson, who created a sculpture that is dedicated to African American musicians throughout the area. And that will be installed at Skelton Park in Champaign, hopefully by the end of this month or in November, as we transform that park area into a tribute to African American musicians. So super excited about it. We've got one out in Homer. I think that's the one on the left. is in Homer, strong history in Homer related to the railroad. So it's been great to see this. And the website is up and going if you're interested in learning more about some of the history, a lot of it that we haven't known. So. Okay, almost done. The other area that is continuing to really take off is film in the whole county. We assisted with 6 productions over this last year. This does bring jobs and significant economic impact to our area. We're doing a film location tour. We are finding out from Film Scouts that they're interested in a lot of rural settings. So we have that perfectly in our area. A lot of it depends on what they're looking for. This particular scene that's on there was in downtown Champaign, and it became a thing because it was at nighttime and they closed Church Street right there by the Hyatt Hotel. And they put up the Christmas garland because it's a holiday movie, and people got on Spotted in Chambana and were saying, can't they take down the Christmas decorations? It's like they had been down, they just put them up for this filming. So it's funny that people, how they perceive when they see stuff and what they think it's for. But anyway, super excited about what film can do for our area. And we help with what our role is in our office is helping them find the assets that they're looking for. So whether it's a rural area, whether it's a top of a parking garage, that was one that we needed. One was in a Victoria or a mid-century house on a brick street. It's very random, some of the things that and it's finding what those places are and then finding the people who are willing to have a film be done in their area. And they just previewed one at the Savoy 16 that featured, I think it was 11 places all over the area that were from Old Orchard to Parkland baseball. And it's a baseball type of movie, independent film, but it was kind of fun to see the movie and recognize the sites from our area with it. So last slide. And I just want to, this is our team, this is our board of directors. We have a 15-person board of directors and a 15-person foundation board of directors. We're working on the foundation board because the funds that we get from our tourism grant aren't enough to be able to do these initiatives that are for the community. So we're using the foundation board funds to develop the Heritage Trail, to build our film productions, to work on our talent attraction efforts, and then for our bid effort. So the good news about Rain Tools, and that'll be my last comment before you ask questions, is that it's been great with events. The challenge is those events cost money to bring in. Youth football didn't just show up there. They know they can bring money for that. So we're paying upward of around 10 grand for a tournament that's gonna be here for a weekend, but it's upward of $1.2 million for that weekend and what that does for the community. But those funds aren't covered, so we have to raise the funds for that. So it's a good problem to have, but it's not funds that I would normally have in my budget. So we're appreciative of your funds. We're appreciative of everybody that funds us. We're trying to work more with some of the private corporations to offset. So, you know, the Buseys and Carl and some of the other partners that are helpful to what we're doing with that. So I rattled off a lot. I welcome the new trustees. I hope you're like, who is this person? Why is she telling me all this stuff? If I haven't met you before, it's nice to meet you. And I'm happy to answer if you have any questions for that.
I have a couple for you. Have you ever thought about creating a QR code for this, for the front of your magazine? I'm just saying, the way kids got their phone, if they had a QR code, boom, they'd look up, they're just sitting there playing with their phone. Look at the same
Be able to see
information.
it. I will ask that question. I feel like we have that, but it's not printed on the guide.
Well,
Art, that's a good question. I'll be happy to ask
Well, I
that.
mean, if you've got this displayed in different restaurants
Right.
and everything, I can see somebody come up, they want a copy, but they just go ahead and boom, and they got that.
And it would take them to the digital, we have a
Right.
digital copy online
Yeah.
of the guide, but yes, that's a great thought. Thank you.
And then, with the COVID, how many restaurants, do you have any idea how many restaurants in the Champaign area, Champaign Urbana area closed down? Or are you seeing an increase now that things have changed? And so the revenue is up for different things.
The revenue, and that's hotel tax revenue, but food and beverage is up as well. I don't know the exact number of what closed, but I do know they're continuing to reopen or open differently. we're definitely seeing, I think, in like downtown Champaign, you know, I talked to Carolyn Farren at Farren's right there in the corner, and she said they're still having a hard time because, and a lot of this is they're having to pay everybody more. So the cost of food's up, the cost of labor is up. So they're trying to just basically stay afloat. And then I just read that Peking Garden, which is kind of over by the Robeson Building, that's been around for years, is closing at the end of the month. But a lot of it is because the people who've been doing it are tired and they're done. And if they don't have somebody else to come in and take over, then they're closing. So I don't know what those numbers are, but we're seeing an uptick in the increase of restaurants all over the county in terms of opening.
Yeah, since you brought up the county, how do our numbers compare with other counties? Are they all up proportionally or?
That's what I was saying, we're the eighth amount of visitor spending in the county in Illinois. So we're proportionately, we're doing better than some of our populations of cities that might be 45 minutes away or 90 minutes away, 80 minutes if you go down 72, that we're doing even better than they're doing.
Okay.
So it's really, it's great to see, and people will say, well, what is the reasoning for that? That's part of why we're doing this data, to figure out where people are coming from, because we can say the university, but that's a standard that, like, it hasn't changed that much. So what are the other things that are pulling people here? And that's something we're continuing to evaluate with the data, so.
Just asking,
You-
okay.
What is that? There was nothing about car shows. You're not gonna ask about
I'm
a
being
car
general.
show?
I'm being general.
Okay,
There's opportunity there from what I've heard
Yeah.
still, but in Bloomington, they got a good venue, but who knows, they may be coming back, you know.
they could,
Mhm.
or bring back the hot rod.
I would
power
love to
tour
see
again.
that.
Yeah, I've got to call into them. They're trying to make their decision because they were kind of mid-south this last year. We're like, hey, we could be a good one on that.
Yeah, I forget, well, I don't remember where it ended last year
I think in Tennessee,
in
they
Tennessee.
parade around, so it's pretty close.
Yeah,
So,
they usually, wherever they start or end,
And
that's
they
what
start the
and they
next
did
year.
that one year
Yeah,
here, so.
yeah. Lots of change in that group, so.
Okay.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So do you have like point person in, you know, the communities? Like, is there like a point person from St. Joe, like you're talking about keeping information accurate? Because I noticed on the website, like, there's no picture for China King, there's no picture for Padano's. So I didn't know if it's up to those businesses to submit that, or do you have somebody from St. Joseph supposed to be the point person? Because it also has like Scratch listed, they've been closed for like a really long time.
See, that's where we usually have used, we've talked about the St. Joe Chamber has been one, or the village. We look to the groups in each, and it's different in each of the surrounding areas. So in some places it's a chamber, some places here, I'd have to ask Terry, our marketing person, but I think it's usually been the village. So we've gone to Joe or anybody that would be able to do that. And that's a good point, though. We should re-emphasize to make sure we have that. With the things that are open or closed, we're as good as we can find out. We get information from like the public health district when places close, but we don't always hear it right away. And so we're doing what other people are doing in terms of having those included or excluded if we need to take those off. So yeah, we work with different people from each of the communities as best we can. And I think it's hard. Those people change, and then trying to keep track of who everybody is. So I don't know, Tammy, do I say who would be the best person on the team here to be that person, or?
And I think that's one area that we've always been just a tad bit weak on, because I think it has been kind of changed, because I know the chamber has done a little bit with, that, but they don't have really a full-time staff.
Sure.
That does it, and I know with the village, it's been hit and miss on different activities. We try to pull the information, but since we don't have really a full-time person that's just dedicated to that, it's always been hard. But I know it's been something that I've always wanted to improve on, because like I said, it's getting the information to you and getting it out there and getting it in a timely fashion too, because sometimes it's like, oh shoot, did anyone get a hold of them? And then it's too late to really get it into your information.
Right. And we have Estella, who's at our front, does do a search, like she's continuing to search, and we actually have a new, I'm not gonna remember the name of a software that helps scrape the internet for events, and that's really helping to kind of build our calendar, but our calendar will only be as good as those that populate it. So we can only do as much as we can do. Sometimes things change, or and we look at social media and then we're like, oh, we promoted that event and then it got rescheduled, or it got canceled, or it got added. And those sometimes happen so fast that in the moment, and I think social is really also a great place for that, because if something does change, or the hours change, or weather related change, then we can share it if we know that that's happening, or if we get a tag that says the Experience Champaign-Urbana, just tag us. And then that way we can draw into our list as well for people to be able to then see that information. So it's gotta, we try to do what we can, and then we hope that the communities will do what they can as well. But it's hard when you don't have a dedicated person, I get it.
Right, like, it almost seems like you need a dedicated liaison. I didn't know if there was anybody from your, you know, group or board that, you know, does like an annual, you know, they do like an annual insurance review or something, and send out, hey, this is what we have for your community. Are
Right.
there any changes that you want to make, you know, or that just falls on somebody from St. Joe to reach out to you guys?
No, it's both ways, because we do check those before we print the guide at the beginning of the year to see if something, we don't always catch everything, but we do that through our marketing team as well. So we try to meet you halfway to be as helpful as possible. It's a lot. I mean, the good news, there's a lot happening in the area,
Sure.
but it's also, but I hear you, because they're kind of like, well, why is that still on, and if that place isn't closed? And it's like, oh, then we'll make a note of that to scratch that from our information.
It's a common problem. I just got in Myrtle Beach in August and picked up the same kind of a guide and taking a bunch of people out to dinner. And I don't know how many places we call, get an end dry with their clothes.
Yeah, restaurants
I mean,
particularly
had
are
about 3 different ones.
Yeah,
That we had that happen.
they're struggling with that, which is part of why we try to get away from doing as much listings in the guide and more about the stories about people, because you think like, oh, I can't remember what, there was something we did a feature on, and it was about an artist or somebody, and then they're moving from the community, you know, and you're like, oh, we just did that, you know, and we print it once a year for that. That's again why we focus as much as we can on social. And then events calendar, we do a newsletter that goes out to the listserv of people with that too. So, but thank you for that. And I think we could talk about who would be the best.
Yeah, I think it's
Person.
something that we can definitely improve on, you know, make a coordinated effort, you know, to either one of the girls in the office or work closer with the chamber or something. But yeah, some of the events aren't always through the chamber, and not all the events are always through the village.
Exactly.
So, you know, we need to pull out information from outside of, you know, within the community too. Because, you know, just like the women's group does their things in various different groups. So, but yeah, it's definitely something that could be improved on for sure. And I know you've answered a lot of my questions in regards to the name change and stuff, because I know that was the topic that we had
Sure.
at our last meeting and discussing that. And you know, it made a lot of sense on what you were talking about. And I have to admit, I'm probably guilty of the same thing when you're out of town or somewhere and you're trying to explain to somebody where you're from in St. Joseph, and you know, they're kind of looking at like St. Joseph, and it's like, yeah, you know, and then next thing you know, you reference Champaign-Urbana, because most likely a lot of people know Champaign-Urbana.
Or the university that happens. a lot,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes a lot of sense when you pointed that out too, as far as the name. I can see where that would be something that would trigger people's, you know, if they're doing a search or something. So that does.
And that's what we're hoping, the idea is with that map to show you. So that's right, gonna be right on the homepage. So it's like, yeah, you may have searched Champaign to get there, but then you're able to see all of the areas that are around it. And I think as a travel parent, my kids are older now, but I remember going, and I didn't know, when I was in the metropolitan area, I'm like, oh, we're in another area. I'm just knowing to get to the soccer field, or I'm knowing to go to this pizza place. You know, you don't always necessarily know the geographic part of it. You just know that that's where it's said to get there, you know, so, yeah. But I appreciate you sharing that, because it's really important to us, that nothing has changed, and our goal is that it's more people finding out the information to this area, because it is so competitive with lots of other people. And when you say over a university, if you say you're a university town, what does that mean? Does that mean like Minnesota and Minneapolis? Is it big metropolitan? You know, we have to really look and own who we are and be able to maximize what the community assets that we have here and promote those.
It'd be helpful to know if you got a cutoff date when it goes to print, so everybody, if it was going to print October the 1st, information, updates on your community need to be submitted by September 30th or something like
It's
that.
June 30th, because we do it in conjunction with having it done before the faculty, staff, and the students are back.
Okay,
So
well,
while we're on a July 1 fiscal, our guide is printed in July, because we have to have them back by August to reach all the orientations.
I just thought I'd mention that. I didn't
No,
know.
this is all great info, I'm writing it down, I mean, and I don't wanna, I'll also say too, there could be some of that Terry and the marketing team are doing already, and I'm speaking from my perspective of like, oh, that's a great idea, I'll go back, and I'm like, hey, we're already doing that, I'm like, oh. I don't always know all of those details, but I do appreciate that a lot, thank you. Yes,
How are the businesses in the guide selected? Is there a way for us to help get St. Joe exposed a little bit more, or, you know, how are those kind of chosen? Because I know it does mention that there are 4 things, but they're like very, very brief little things, which I understand, we're a much smaller part of the whole community.
absolutely.
But like, there's, you know, a winery list, and we do have a winery, and you know, there's a lot of areas that we didn't get covered in, and I didn't know how those are selected, and if there's a way
I'm
that we
gonna,
can help.
right, again, I'll follow up with you on that, because I know we try to, we only do hospitality businesses and attractions, so we're not really doing
Right.
insurance companies and banks, we're not the chamber in that regard with that. We try to do the attractions that we can, like keeping it within it is the most that we see people coming to or requesting information about. But it doesn't mean that we're not missing some things. So I hear what you're saying, but I would like to give you a better answer on that.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was a way for us to,
Yeah.
and then, do
Include
you
that.
get any?
And they're all online, by the, I mean, if it's not online, we can add that tomorrow. So that is, I will say, digitally, that most people are using that aspect of being able to find things, and we promote every hospitality business for free.
And I need to go back and look, I didn't grab my Post-it, I had played on the website a little bit and was just searching St. Joseph, but I wasn't getting a lot of information. So I don't know if.
It could be, and we're in the transition time with that
Right,
as
so I
well
don't
too.
know
That could be some of the kinks. It is, we're literally doing that right
Right,
now.
it's all
Yes,
spelled out, St.
Yes.
Joseph, you know.
right.
The other question I had is, do you get any feedback, like Wheelhouse was included in Restaurant Week? Is there any sort of, do you get results as to how much participation maybe they received from that?
We do, and I don't know it off the top of my head for that, but we do get the participation from the restaurants. One, to see if they want to return for the next year because they have found it to be good business for them. Because it's an extra effort for them, because they are getting additional people, which is a good thing, but then they have to make sure that they've got like a prefix menu, and we've kind of left it up to the restaurants, especially since the pandemic, to determine how they want to promote their specials. And the ones that do well with it are the ones that do more than just like 10% off or something, you know, like we make it kind of a special thing for them to do. But restaurants are invited, and it's very hard to sometimes pinpoint restaurant owners that we reach out to invite them to be a part of it, because a lot of them are focused on running the restaurant. So, yeah. But are you asking like who, why they were selected, or they
No,
just
more
always
just
participated?
how beneficial it may have been. I had actually emailed Wheelhouse just kind of asking, and I hadn't heard back because they are very busy, I'm sure. So I was just curious if you got feedback as to if it was beneficial to them to be part of that. And
We do get a survey back from them
the village
and
gets a lot of people who wouldn't have made,
wouldn't have necessarily
wouldn't
come
have normally
before.
been
Yeah.
here, that came because Wheelhouse was participating, something like that.
Right. I will get the survey results and see which one, and again, it's as good as the ones that responded. But no, I'm curious now to know with that. We've gotten part of it, we've gotten a lot of positive response because of the time of year. It's a very slow
Yes.
time of year. It's cold. People have had the holidays, and so it's a great way for them to get out and see places maybe they haven't gone, and if there's a special at a restaurant that they might not normally think about going to. And some restaurant owners, and I think they may be included, have used it as a time to try a new menu item and see how it goes over, and then think about adding it to the menu as well, which is fun to see us too. But yes, they do provide feedback afterwards.
Thank you. I have a question.
Yeah.
Any word on when Kickapoo Rail Trail is gonna be able to finish up to?
Oh, gosh, that's a
I mean,
million dollar
I
question.
keep giving my money to them and I'm just like hoping, I mean, I don't.
You know, I, that's such a long-term project. I don't really know what they're,
And I haven't heard from them for a little while. I know the biggest hangup for our closest area here is the railroad there at Glover. But, the last time I had talked to someone from the Kickapoo Rail Trail, they was hoping to get the section from Ogden or the part all the way from Champaign County to Vermillion County, except for
that
the area,
portion.
the portion by the railroad done within a couple of years. Or they were on track for that. But the railroad issue there, I think, is still a challenge, so.
Yeah, railroads are tough. In terms of turning over that part of it and just,
It's just
gonna be tougher now.
Crossing in general to make it safe is a big thing, so, but anyway, so, yeah, I haven't had an update here recently, so.
keep investing in it. It's a great cause, but it would be nice to get a timeline a little bit, but I think they're kind of hands tied a little bit based on that, when they can get ownership from the railway.
Yeah. So, but anyway, if nobody else has any questions, I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, it's great
And
to see all of you.
We always appreciate the goodies.
Sorry for the popcorn this year, we'll have to, yeah. Introduce about all that, and it's great that you, I mean, we have some great places around the whole area, and you always think like, oh, should I get something in St. Joe? I'm like, well, you can always get something in St. Joe, let me get you something that you may not get to the Orchard or something.
Well, and it is true, because you introduced it, because I know it, having the popcorn brought out the last time you were here, now I go there. Popcorn, so it definitely worked.
It worked.
Yeah. So,
Well, and if your meeting isn't longer than, it is longer than 20 minutes.
Mary still has the record, she's happy.
I'm blaming Jane now.
You can blame me, I'll take that blame.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great evening. Thank you.
I'll see you answer all the questions.
Okay. And I'll follow up on the ones with that, I'll follow up and send those to you that I can find the answers to on what we talked about as well. Because I mean, some of it, I want to know if I'm not familiar with it, but also want you to know so that you understand that we're here to promote CCO.
All right.
Okay,
Thank
see ya.
you. All right, bye-bye. All right, actually, we have a very short agenda tonight with Joe being gone. He will have his report for our second meeting. Mark, do you have anything for us?
I don't think I do.
Timmy? No. Our Public Works report will be at the second meeting also. I do have a few things on my list here. We already covered the Halloween proclamation. I just was gonna put a reminder out there, that Nora can throw that out there, that the fall costume parade that I do with the kids will be happening on October 28th. That's Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. We'll be meeting once again here at the Village Hall, and we've already had several businesses in our downtown area that have agreed to giving out some goodies for the kids. So we'll be looking forward to that. Also, it's just right around the corner, our Christmas tree lighting will be on Saturday, December the 2nd, and that's gonna be in the downtown area this year. So encourage everybody to mark them. It'll be, of course, close to dark, but I think we're gonna start, did we decide about 4:30? We're gonna start that, yeah. So we'll have some fun things planned for that and get that publicized. The other quick thing, I was gonna just give you a quick brief update, you know, last meeting, I think it was, we talked about the county changing some of their amendments to go along with the state's solar and wind. I don't know, governor's, I guess he was the main one who signed off on that, but basically taking away our ETJ, which is our extraterritorial, we get a 1.5 miles outside of the village, that we are legally have some say-so on what goes on there. And that was pretty much taken away from us with that through the governor. But anyway, so the county was doing some updating on their amendments to amending their text as far as to go along with that. And so we did a formal protest, us and along with a few other communities in the outside area. The rural communities, of course, is where it hurts the most. It's our growth zone. If we're ever to grow, and you know, you put the solar. From my understanding, the wind is probably not as big of a concern with talking to the county. It would be more so the solar, because most of those leases are for 40 years. You know, so it's a long time to, if you don't take into account our ability to grow in some of those areas. So Mark is actually, I've been working with, I had a meeting with several other mayors, and we talked about it along with the county board member. And our protest actually was productive as far as slowing things down. And it made them interested in chatting with us. And so there actually is a revision on the table with the county board to revise the text. It would give us a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of protection to our ETJ. Mark is going to review that. Sean over at Muhammad, Mayor Muhammad, he's kind of taking the lead with that. He's got staffing with their zoning that was able to look at the verbiage on the text amendment and stuff. So they've agreed to revise some of the language in the text amendment. And so we said that we would retract our protest if we added this, but we're gonna have Mark look over it for not only Philo, but some of us. So he will get back with us to see if it makes sense. A lot of it, like I said, if you know a lot about planning and zoning and stuff, it probably makes a lot more sense to those people than some of us others, because my thing is I went, and when I was talking to Mark about it, is it making sure, and I know Sean Muhammad has asked for some clarification, and I think he's happy with it so far with their county level. And so we'll have Mark look at it too with some of the other communities, and we'll make sure we're good with that. But that's just kind of an update. So I was thankful that the county zoning administrator was willing to work with us on that. So I don't know how far it will get us in the end, because it's still a state requirement. But we can try to protect our rights, you know, so. But other than that, one other quick thing, I know there was a little bit of Facebook chatter in regards to the sign out of the sewer plant. And I just was not, without going into a lot of detail with that, and to try and stay away from any of the politics of the whole thing. It is required sign through our low interest loan that we have for the sewer plant expansion. Actually, from the first day that it was put up, our engineers double checked with the contractors and stuff on why the sign went up. And apparently with those type of low interest loans, we don't have a choice. Now, there was some talk that we might move it a little further back or something, but, our engineers actually even, tried to change the wording a little bit, saying, hey, this is why this is a sign, to make it not so political, but of course, that wasn't allowed either, so, our hands are kind of tied, but it is due to the low interest, loan that we were fortunate enough to get accepted, to help pay for the expansion. And we were lucky enough to get some of that principal loan forgiveness. I believe that amount was like right at like $2.8 million that will get a loan forgiveness with that. And that was with the help with some of our legislators and things that we got that to help with it. Unfortunately, we had to take out a bigger loan because of the economy is the way it is. So probably whatever savings we're making also, because the economy is so bad, ate up, all of that, but it is what it is. And so unfortunately, the sewer expansion costs more than even our engineers were a little shocked at what the bids came in. But we were able to still get the low interest loan, and so we get a little bit larger percentage for the loan forgiveness. So if anyone, that's just a very brief caption of apparently the questions on the sign of the sewer plant.
Well, can I add something to that?
Sure.
A friend worked for the construction company. They were not allowed to move the shovel or dirt until that sign was put up. It was verified as a place, and then they got an authorization on it.
Yeah, and that was exactly my understanding too, was that it was kind of, their hands are tied too. They had to do what is prescribed to them also, so.
And then one other thing, when you talked about solar, have you explored any kind of question of annexation to take that, if they're not gonna acknowledge the sphere of 1.5 miles, what's the possibility of communities annexing those properties?
That was something that we talked about too, and that's probably gonna be a good question for Mark. The only thing is annexations, there's rules that you have to abide by also to do annexations. But that would protect your, if you of course have that.
Well, they're kind of forcing you.
Yeah.
If you don't.
And it used to be you did a lot of pre-annexation agreements, but I don't know how many communities still do that anymore either, but I know early on when I was on the board, we did several of those. And then it seemed like something changed with the law that we got away from doing that.
No, you're right. It seemed like we had a lot more in the past, but what you could have is you got a farm implement dealer that's outside the village limits. And then or an elevator that's outside the big village limits, and then they want to acquire some new ground and do something that's not allowed in ag zoning, and they want to get rezoned. Well, they either have to go through the county, or it's usually easier to get a pre-annexation agreement with us where we agree to a bunch of stuff in there and we'll get done. So I still do them, but I'm not sure why there's a difference, but you're right. It seems like we do them less than we did.
Yeah. So I just know it changed at some point.
We can't forcibly annex them.
Right.
They have to want to come in unless we surround them and they're less than 88 or 60 acres. So.
Anyway, so that's all I have, and if the trustees have nothing to share, new trustees, gotta feel for your first meeting.
Well, my historical knowledge is all of 45 minutes. So.
That makes you an expert.
I didn't get the record. Terry still has the record for the shortest meeting, so.
I guess I should add, I did attend that Park District Solar meeting, but when they have a presentation, any questions, or if people got questions about it, I can add to it.
Yeah, and I think Joe did send that out too with part of the meeting packet. There was some information that you can review too, and then like I said, feel free to ask Art on some of that if you have questions.
The consultant is going to generate one for presentation to the village is structured for the village. But that being said, the advantage of looking at the Urbana one, that's different venues that they're looking at that, and whether it's cost effective or not. So it's fuel for thought.
We traditionally let our two new trustees speak to the adjournment, so we have two. We'll let one, make the motion, we'll let the other one second, and you guys can trade off next meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
I'll second.